What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the next episode of the podcast Sitting Tall with me, Casey Ellen, and my buddy Tony Chamberlain. And today we're welcoming a good friend of mine coming straight from the couch, and his name Daniel Vasquez, photographer extraordinaire. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Straight
Yeah,
from the
man.
couch. That's hilarious.
For people who don't know, me and Danny go way back. Danny, we met in college back in the day, and we became friends right away, just playing basketball and stuff like that. And then, eventually as time went on, things just happened. I was living in an apartment basically across the street from St. John's. Danny needed a little spot to stay for a little bit, and bam, right on the couch he went. And that was just, and then we actually became roommates, and we went from there. We had our own little spot for about a year, and that was the killing zone. The killing zone.
Yeah.
We had two
Fun
TVs
times.
set up in the living room. We had Call of Duty going back and forth all the time. 2K. It was a lot of good times.
Yeah, great times. The Call of Duty that's out now again. It's all those maps and stuff.
Oh,
And
they
he,
redid
he
it.
forgot to mention that he was our boss or my boss for a little
Oh,
bit.
oh.
Yeah.
I mean, I may have been his boss while he was living in my house, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, see, you
Yeah.
did not mention that. So, you might want to kind of give us the whole
Yeah.
detail. You can't hide some stuff.
I forgot.
No.
I forgot that I graduated a year early, and then I got a job on
I think
campus,
when
and it
I
just so
moved, it
happened.
was only like
Yeah, it was
that
just
summer. Like it was like I was
yeah,
graduated already. Yeah,
yeah.
it was so
It wasn't
funny.
really like it wasn't a lot, but
No
no. So
HR complaints here. Yeah.
yeah, no HR compliance. We didn't violate any bylaws at St. John's. I hope.
Yeah.
I can't picture you as a boss. I'm not gonna lie. I can't picture you
Nah,
as
I
a
don't
boss
think
at
we
all.
treat like a
I
boss though.
mean, honestly, I probably didn't get the respect I needed to at the time until
No respect.
it's hard when you go from being a staff member, working with all your friends and your boys who you become real close with. I graduated a little earlier than some of them, and then some of them still work there, and I became the boss of the for that particular little part of the program. And it's like, how do I get the respect from going from just being your boys and then being the boss of your boys? And it's real hard. Will had no respect at all.
Yeah.
But the first guy we met on the podcast, Tony,
Yeah.
I was also Will's
Hmm.
boss too for a little while. Yeah, shout out Will
Oh, okay.
Rodriguez. I was your boss.
Yeah.
Six-figure man right now. You started out. I was your boss first. Yeah, so that was it. Yeah, it was hard. Once they left, it was easy. Once they left, I had the respect I needed. But once
I finally got some respect.
when my
Yeah,
boys were
once it
there,
was
it was
all
tough.
freshmen and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Put some respect on the name, right?
I mean, for real here. Collared shirt. I got the collared shirt on. No more t-shirt. No, little polo
Yeah,
now.
exactly. All right, so I actually have a question for you. Let's do a little fast forward. So we got a little bit of background, like you and Case did the whole college thing. You was on his couch. So let's fast forward to now. Like, what are you up to now?
Now I guess I'm full-time like artist mode photographer. I've been pretty much since I was living with Casey. I was about to say the
Oh.
wrong name now. I was
Kelsey?
living with Casey. Yeah, Kelsey's my baby mom. Living with Casey. That's when I first got a camera. So now it's kind of funny like that we're doing this because like now fast forward now I'm doing it full time. If I'm not like shooting, doing emails, meetings, hopefully getting new jobs coming in. Today's been a busy day trying to line up some stuff for like fashion week. Outside of that, obviously I just mentioned baby moms. I have a 7-year-old. Or she'll be 7 in March. So yeah, just
Little
dealing with
cutie.
that. Looking for jobs. I just I've been doing workshops. So I do monthly like photo workshops out of our studio. They're all like free to the public. I did a partnership with Samsung recently, like 2 weeks ago from now, and it seemed like a pretty big deal. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I saw stuff on Instagram. That looked real cool. I was gonna
say I did a quick breeze on you on Instagram, and I saw that you work with quite a few celebrities and everything. I was just like blown away. That's really cool. Could you like touch base on that a little bit? Like, how did you I'm assuming that you got introduced through a company or something like that, but like, how did that ever start? Like, making your way in there?
It's a lot of, especially younger, it's a little easier, but it's a lot of just random nights out, things like that. Kind of a lot of not working for a company. I work for myself. I've had like mentors that have been photographers for years ahead. That kind of take you under the wing. I have like a really big mentor, Johnny Nunez, when it comes to like event life and stuff like that. So, he's able like, hey, I need some extra help or like I got extra access. He's you can come with me. And then from there, it's dependent on like if I'm working for myself, you kind of network with whoever. I try to network across, and what I mean by that is kind of like not trying to shoot, the biggest artists or whatever. But when I first started, just going to like small music showcases and things like that, and people that just wanted photos, for one to practice my skills, I guess as an event photographer, and then two, just network and stuff. And you kind of fast forward over time, maybe that person that was doing a small showcase is now doing a big showcase that has whatever artist now headlining. And obviously, since you've been there during their smaller ages, they want you to come. You're shooting the photos for whoever that big artist is. And then, you kind of, a lot of the artists, it depends because some of them I got really good relationships, like a Remy Ma, or there's some people who I've multiple times that probably don't even know my name, but they know my face and they know like, all right, when he's around, I don't got to worry about anything, especially backstage and green rooms or more private areas. I guess I've become a trusted face.
I mean,
So
you kind of got it in order to like, open yourself up and like,
yeah.
be able to work with artists like that, because a lot of times they do want like a lot of privacy. So I'm assuming they put a
Yeah,
lot of trust in you while you're, doing your whole photography thing.
That's what's
yeah.
up.
I have some moments where like I don't like to name names when it's something negative, but I've been like on a boat cruise and you can't go nowhere, and the artist is like, all right, I want to go through and see every photo to make sure like there's no bad photos, that might get leaked like
Yeah.
a TMZ or something. And that's a little annoying because it's like, I'm hired by the people that brought you here, so hopefully there's some trust. But in
Yeah.
that situation, I couldn't do anything. I'm on a boat, can't go anywhere.
Yeah. It's like
Doing a whole tour of the city and
yeah.
everything, so can't just
Yep.
dip. But then the cool, they're usually cool, and then luckily ended up getting some photos that no one else got because we were like in their private room compared to like being on the deck with everyone else.
Yeah.
And those photos are, getting placement because they were different than everyone else's photos and stuff. Yeah.
So if we were to go back, right? What was your first gig? Do you remember the first shoot? Because I think I remember the first time you started taking photos, and I don't know if that was that event is of what I'm thinking about.
I want to hear what you're thinking about first because I know I guess I know my first
I'm
event that I
I'm
went to that
thinking
was
it.
like outside of shooting us and like just things around the neighborhood. And then I know the very first event I went to and then the first paid job as well. So yeah.
I think from if I'm remembering correctly, I don't know if this is even considered an event. I just remember this might have been one of the first times you were taking pictures was at the wedding, Lindsay's sister's wedding. I don't
Hmm.
know if was that one of the first or was that
Yeah, that was definitely one of the first. I think I did like probably a paid job before then, but that was like definitely my first wedding, and like
yeah.
being in that type of environment. I actually just got asked if I'd shoot a wedding. I was like, I don't think so. They're too stressful. Unless
Yeah.
it's like over 5K plus, then I
Yeah.
can do it. Just because it's too much stress goes
Yeah.
involved. I mean,
I have a very good picture from Danny that day that I still
yeah, I know
keep to
exactly
this
what
day.
picture
That
you gotta
my
pop out
little
somewhere.
yeah that's gonna get popped up because that's my little purple suit. I have my purple shirt.
Yeah,
I was looking fresh that day. Danny got a good angle. It was nice. It was good. It was a good time.
yeah, yeah. That was
That's
cool.
awesome.
That was a good opportunity. Those are like learning moments that like.
Yeah.
I'm not a wedding photographer, but they don't mind if I bring my camera, and there's like I just took photos like if I was working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like little moments like that. It's like always have your camera and just at times like advice I do, or I even give myself advice like, all right, try to bring your camera a little more because there's times where I'm like, I don't want to touch this thing unless it's for work. It's
Yeah.
heavy. It got my
Yeah.
backpack's like 20, 30 pounds sometimes.
Yeah. All the different
Mm-hmm.
lenses you probably have to carry, like right, all
Yeah,
that kind of
every
equipment.
situation and things like that. But
Yeah.
I know my first paid job, well, I'd say my first, I guess, gig or event was because of DJ Zeke. I don't know if you guys ever mentioned him, but he's another St. John's
Oh
person. I
yeah.
feel like we're all very
Bill talked
connected.
about him. We're gonna get him on the podcast in a
Yeah,
little
I
bit. We are.
assume, we
We've been
got
chatting.
Will,
We've
me.
been chatting a little. We've been chatting. We've been working on that in the sides. GJ
Yeah,
Zeke's a busy man.
yeah, for sure. And because he's a busy man, I remember one day and I was like, all right, I want to try something different than like, I think I have pictures of like the basketball court around our apartment and things like that. So I was like, let
Mhm.
me try to go to an event. He's always DJing somewhere. So he's like, of course, come through. He did a concert at BB King's. That place no longer exists, but BB King's on 42nd
Okay.
always used to have events and things like that. And I remember the headliner was RL from Next. Remember the group Next, like the two guys and all that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Too close a
that was
little
like,
bit.
Yeah, Too Close and all
Yeah.
that. So he was the headliner, and it was like a R&B night. I think from the Source, because I remember getting two magazines. I think I still have the magazine somewhere, but it was just cool because it was like since Zeke was DJing, it was kind of like spinning in between the artists performing. I got to go on stage and stuff, or like it was pretty chill, low key. So I was like able to go backstage and stuff. But for me, I kind of fell in love with like that whole thing. One, you get to see artists and hear music that you know, people obviously pay to go to concerts. So like that was cool, just
Yeah.
getting to see that behind the scenes too. And it just kind of like I would like to do more of this. Zeke, I think I went to like two or three more events with him, and then the third one he was DJing at like the Beats by Dre store, their
Yeah. Yeah.
very first store in Soho. Like obviously Beats was like on top of the game and stuff like that. So I just wanted to check him out. He was like spinning during the day, come through, and then we both got invited to the after party. He had another job because he's so busy. So I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything. And as I'm there, the lady who gave us the passes for the party, she's like, I don't know where our photographer's at. She's like, you were taking pictures earlier. If you take pictures tonight, I'll make sure you get paid. And I was like, okay.
Okay.
It's a
Yeah, next
win-win.
thing, yeah,
Yeah.
next thing you know, like Dr. Dre's walking in, Jimmy had other people. So those were the
Oh.
first pictures for like, and like I think Pro Styles was DJing. That's on Power 105. I'm so
Oh.
new, and I've been in New York, but I don't
Yeah. Yeah.
listen to radio and all that. So I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't even
Yeah.
know who Pro Styles is like that. But obviously he's a big deal if he's DJing this. Now we cool and everything, good for him.
Yeah.
But that was surreal just because of like one, I had to like in the back of my mind, like, oh, I gotta make sure I prepare to take these photos
Yeah.
because now it's a whole different
It's
thing.
like
There's
it's
money
like oh,
involved.
it's a different level now.
It's
Yeah,
gonna get serious.
and I went back then. I was working part time for Sony PlayStation and stuff. So like going from that, which was like X amount per hour at the time, to I think I got paid $300,
Hmm.
which now if I know, I'm sure I would charge them like 350 an hour probably, and
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
minimum.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
that shows the difference
the
and everything
growth.
and experience, yeah, and the growth. It was so cool, but making 300 just to party and hang out and be in those environments compared to how
Oh.
many hours it probably took me to make 300 at my part-time job.
Mhm.
I was like, I should focus on this a little more, and it's something I like and things, and
Yeah.
then that's kind of like what more of the motivation I needed.
That's great.
That's
It's just
dope.
like it's like oh, I get a little bit more money, and I'm having fun, and I'm doing something I
Yeah,
Yeah,
like.
exactly.
Yeah. See you later,
I get
Sony.
paid to enjoy the night. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I
great.
think
I
I
mean,
to a
I
certain
think
extent.
everybody would want to do that.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
to a
think I
certain
remember that
extent.
first night. I think I remember when you came back to the apartment. I think we were still living together at that time.
Yeah, I believe we're still in together.
Yeah.
The years now get all confused,
Dude, that was
confusing.
what was that like 2011, 2010?
Yes,
That was
2011. I think 2011 was like when I got my camera. I think so. It was
yeah,
like around then. Yeah.
long time, long time, long time.
Do you ever get like starstruck when you're like taking photos of like celebrities and things?
I think the only person was Jay-Z. I had one opportunity to photograph him, and it's just unexpected. When my mentor reached out, I was like, "Hey, there's another event." He's like, "I need you to go to 4040 until I get there, just in case." Just red carpet photos, like all the artists. It was a Robinson Cano like fundraiser event at the 4040.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
get there. I'm wearing it's summertime, so I'm like in shorts and all that. Just in case you go inside, you gotta, it's a little nicer. I had to go and get like whatever jeans I could. I think it was like Lucky Brand
Yeah.
like $200 on some jeans. And I was like, I'll just return these just in case.
Yeah.
Got
Keep
some
the
shirts
receipt.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm shooting red carpet, and then next thing you know, some lady just comes in after Jay-Z walks in. And I was like, "You're Danny." And I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, "Come in with me. We need you to get these photos."
Mhm.
So kind of like, and went from like just step and repeat red carpet photos of like everyone walking in to
Yeah.
like following Jay around in the 4040 for like an hour or two and just documenting, what was going on, like taking photos of like him doing a silent auction was the first thing. And I
Yeah.
kind of like over flashing, overshooting. He gave me like a look like you need to chill. And I was like, all right, it's
Say
cool. But then
my
after
bad,
that, yeah,
my
but
bad,
I was
my
just
bad,
so like
my
you
bad,
said, there's
hove,
like the
my bad, hove.
starstruck,
Yeah.
the anxiety and all that too. You just don't want to miss the moment, especially with
Oh,
that because that's what they really wanted. And he was at the end of like the table. Like I missed all the
yeah,
moments. So I'm trying to get me in, and I can't be like,
yeah,
oh, can you go sign this? Like those are like little things. But then after that, he was just chilling, and I remember that night because that was actually the day they announced like they signed Kevin Durant. As like their first artist. So
Yeah,
like he's there and everything like that. So I got a photo of them like shaking hands and stuff. So it's like, and
that's
then
crazy.
Kevin Durant, he's on the Sonics, from
Yeah,
Seattle, or
yeah,
most people don't know,
yo,
but
he
I'm from
he was.
Seattle. He played on the
Yeah,
Sonics and all that. So like, I've seen Kevin working out at the gym where I used to play ball, like before they even signed him. Like a
yeah,
cool little circle moment. Favorite
yeah.
artist, Kevin
That's
Durant.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. So, out of all the shoots, I know you've been to a lot of things. Do you
yeah.
have any things that's your favorite? Any favorite, or maybe like a top two, top three? Because I know it's a lot, so that's a hard list to go down.
Yeah. Shooting for 10 years and all that,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. You got to
It's
have a couple ones that
there's
stand out.
a lot of, I guess, just it's more moments, I guess, of feelings and stuff like that.
Mm,
I've been blessed, I guess, where a lot of them are all like really good events, so it's like always good vibes and everything. So there's only very few where I'm like, I hated doing this or stuff like that.
yeah.
Um, I know, like, I always mention Ringo becoming like her personal photographer, kind of
Mm,
to a certain extent, and that just happened from meeting her at an event. She liked my vibe, and then they put me in contact with her. But like shooting her wedding was a big deal because
yeah, that's
she
crazy.
asked me to shoot her wedding, and still just to tell people I'm not a wedding photographer. I can do it, and this and that, and obviously that's like it was a large scale, not even them being who they are, like Remy and Papoose, but
Hmm.
also it was like on TV, like they were filming VH1, so there's a lot of like navigating with the directors and cameras and stuff like that. It's just a large scale. I think it was like I don't even know how much was here. They rented out like a castle and forth from the getting ready area to the grooms area. I think they
Yeah,
hired someone, but you know what I mean, not even knowing.
yeah,
She liked the photos. It was a great experience. That's something I'll like never forget.
yeah.
Um, so that's always like number one. And then I just, I shot our wedding. We did a few events before that, but now that's like my sister. So, we do a lot together. She's growing her battle rap league, and I've been there since day one with all those photos and stuff. So
That's
a close place in my heart, I guess. And then outside of that, it's very tough because like
yeah,
it could be anything. Like I did Jason, our other friend's wedding recently, and that was a cool moment because that's like
yeah,
Casey
yeah,
asked me to shoot his wedding.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's like those are all like touching moments and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's I still it blows my mind whenever I see like your pictures on your page and I see like how close you are with Remy, and it's just crazy how like something that you picked up when you were living with me, like you just maybe like a little hobby, and then it's just something you had a little passion about, and then you turned it into a career, and now like you're doing all these events and you hanging out with fucking Remy Ma, like
Yeah,
one of the best ever. And then also I wanted me and Tony were talking before. We wanted to talk to you about the showcase you just did. That looked like that was amazing. That you just did. If you want to share a little bit about that experience.
yeah. Planning before I actually had the showcase and stuff this past year, I guess 2023. I've always get asked, like recommend, like help out with photography, like give advice and stuff like that. So I kind of put it out there. I'm gonna do like a workshop monthly, and it started like pretty small in my brain. Like, all right, I'll like see who signs up. I have a photo studio in Brooklyn, and
Mm,
it's actually gonna be a year in February, my next workshop. So I was like, I'll find a model and open up like 10 spots, and whoever wants to learn about like studio photography, because the way I learned was through a mentor, so, and it's like studio photography in particular is expensive on top of photography because now you have your light, you have your camera and your lens, which is already expensive. Now you got to rent a space, rent lighting. It's hard to learn that kind of stuff unless you have, extra income or
yeah,
it's whatever. But luckily, I had a mentor. So I was like, this is my way of kind of giving back and I have a space. And I'm not really even in there that much just because life or lazy sometimes. But I was like, all right, we did the first one. I got good feedback. I did 8 last year. I missed like my birthday month, which was June. Just I couldn't find a weekend to do it in like another month, I think.
mm,
But kind of doing that consistently, and I've gone to a few events at Samsung. and another St. John's person's actually in charge of the whole moral to this whole thing is gonna be go to St. John's, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Go to,
Listen,
Yeah.
I was gonna say
If
there's
you're
a
in
listen.
lot
New
of name
York, go to
dropping with
St.
St.
John's.
John's.
Yeah,
I'm
like
not
you'll
gonna lie.
meet someone. Yeah,
A
yeah,
lot of a lot of connections. Like Tony, I told you, like, a lot of people like you
yeah.
meet, like people end up doing something cool or
Random.
something like
That's the
random
positive
with
college. Yeah.
famous people like like we were talking about. J. Cole was there. Like it's just Danny was cool with J. Cole back when he
Yeah,
was
I got a good J.
Jermaine.
Cole story too.
He was just
Yeah.
Jermaine. I told Tony about my
hmm
J. Cole story, but my J. Cole story is not. It's not for the podcast because I don't
That's
want.
not for the podcast.
That's not for the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not for the. That's not for the.
Uh,
Nobody needs to know about that. We don't need to. We
yeah.
just. That's just
But
straight. Yeah.
yeah, go to some of the Samsung events and I realized good friend Wafers there. She's around my year. I think she's my year as well.
Yeah.
So towards the end of the year, I've seen her a few times and she reached out about one possibly doing some work with them, but then if I was interested in doing workshops, and I'm like, well, this is already what I do monthly. I think it makes sense.
Hmm.
One thing I want to mention is me and my studio partner in the process of a nonprofit that we just launched. So
Okay.
I'll kind of like teaching not just to the general public, but the nonprofits more directed to obviously like teenage students and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
So that's what kind of how I got to the Samsung type workshop, and it ended up they gave me the option to do like a Q&A style, which I opted for, or like a TED talk. I was like, I'm not doing a TED talk.
Yeah.
That's a little too much planning and speaking. So I have my good friend, and he kind of like what we're doing. So a little interview in which for like 15 minutes or so, and then throughout the interview, I would give like general tips, geared towards shooting with any type of camera. It could be your phone or DSLR or whatever, whatever the right device at the time is the right camera. And
Hmm.
then we went upstairs, and it was kind of like I had three people that did, use this I gave her. We just talked and everything, and then we kind of recapped it. So, and it'll be a nice like a 2 hour event. To me, it feels like when I look back at the photos, it ended up looking a lot larger than what I feel like it was. Because I'm like, oh, it's just another workshop. But
Yeah.
then you
It
see
looked.
like how many people
Yeah.
showed up and all that. You're like,
It,
wow, this is
it
way bigger than I
it looked a lot
expected. Yeah,
different than your other showcases. Like it looked like it was.
yeah.
Yeah. It looked like it was a much larger scale event, at least from the photos.
Yeah, that alone, because I think they said there was like 70 people there at one time, and
Mm.
my workshops are capped at 12. So that alone, just the amount of people, that was like a little different. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
Now, was it just you, or do you work with other people to like do the work to run the workshop?
Um, all the planning and all that right now is just me. Like I just announced the February one, and like the morning that was yesterday, I think, or 2 days ago. And just that morning, I was like, all right, I need to like I realize it's about to be February, and I'm like, all right, I need to
Yeah.
pick a date. Um, it's a little twofold. I would like to Cat's here. I think she wants to.
Uh,
Right now, I would love to plan like all the dates like so far in advance, just to have it on my calendar. But I'd like to keep also open. Just the way I work, everything's kind of last minute and stuff. So it's like I don't want to turn down money if it's a decent sized job. And I don't know, it's like priorities sometimes. But right now, it's just me coming up with the planning and marketing. Luckily, is not hard because it's only folks, and I feel like people want to learn and take time to come in studio. So this past one, I think all the tickets were gone in like less than an hour, which I was surprised about. Usually, it takes a few days or so.
I mean,
So
listen,
yeah,
more exposure. You get the more exposure with
the
this last
Samsung thing.
region showcase thing, and then people are probably like, "Oh, let me sign up for this showcase." And especially you said it's free, right?
hmm
And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so I mean, why not? And you mentioned the nonprofit. How far are you along with that? Starting that?
Like we have all the paperwork and all that done. Like we just made a bank account recently. But we're trying not to rush to that right now. It's me and my studio partner Andrew, or partner now, I guess, or more than just a studio partner. You know,
Yeah.
so we're thinking of trying to do like a summer program to start this first year. Um, but we don't want to go too big and have all these expectations, and then it's just a little too much pressure. We're both also dads and full-time creators as well, so we're like we'll start small. Let's do like a 4 to 6 week program over the summer, like maybe once or twice a week.
Yeah.
And like we've been doing meetings with certain people. We've done some small things like on Zoom with some high schools. and a few students. So like little baby steps until, next thing we'll have a whole nother podcast interview about just a nonprofit, I'm sure, hopefully in like 5 years when it like takes off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's great that you guys are gonna like give back to, kids who are interested in photography but might not have like, the out like the ability to do it or to find a path to get to it at school or so that's cool that
Yeah,
you
for
guys are doing
sure.
that.
Just trying to, get the right resources and also like possible more likely like the mentorship that we probably wish we had when we first started and stuff like that. That's part of it too. Like obviously bring everyone should have access to a camera nowadays and things like that. And
Yeah.
learn properly tell stories and not just be recording, dances and fights and things like that that we see
Oh,
all the
yeah.
time. Like how they use these things for a more positive impact than some of the stuff we see on the internet
Yeah,
right
because
now. Yeah.
there's cameras on your
Hmm.
phones and everybody's picking out and stupid, like you said, like they're filming things that they shouldn't be filming or documenting things that don't need to be documented. So that's
Yeah.
cool. That's gonna be pretty neat. I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see when you guys start that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's probably a great feeling too, like giving back, just like you said, when you were younger and you first picked up a camera, you really didn't know what to do, now you're obviously years later and you're more, you have more success. So like you have more knowledge to give to people. And I'm sure people are
Hmm.
all about and happy to definitely, take your class and like learn, you know what I mean? Because I know I would like, if I can ever go onto anybody's wing and learn something, I'm all about knowledge. I love that. So I'm glad you're doing that, man.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's definitely a good feeling, like at the end of the workshop. Sometimes it feels like it's a lot of work or irresponsible, maybe going out a little later than before, and then like, oh shoot, dang, let me go do this. But yeah, it always ends up being a good feeling for the workshops, and then the kids alone. Like we've done some things like even just via Zoom, and we did something recently called a workplace challenge where we had a group of kids actually. Our challenge was just social media and marketing, or like how would we get donors, or how would we get other teams? Like we want you guys to come up with the ideas, and that was a great thing because especially for the teens, because we're having teens give us advice on what they would like to see.
Yeah.
So that's cool. And then to finally meet them in person and then see how shy they are and like nervous. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is so chill. Like, yeah, it's not a big deal, but it's cool.
Yeah.
So hopefully impacting all these kids and just everyone in a positive manner.
That's great, man. So
Yeah.
that's what kind of like what we're all about here. Me and Tony always talk about it all the time. We're always spreading the love and just, that's why I wanted to get you on here because I know, not only you're my boy, but like you're also doing great things, like with the photography. And now I didn't even know about the nonprofit. That's just something even
Oh
extra.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's awesome, man.
You guys are doing some amazing things. I saw the little interview. I've seen a few. I don't really watch that many podcasts or listen to
Hmm.
them. So
Yeah,
like in my free time, but outside, even I'm traveling on the train, it's mainly just music. But then
yeah.
when I'm at home, I just play, video game guy over here. So
Listen, I
that's
know that.
all I do. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
feel
yeah.
that. Listen, I already told you, I just got back into it, and it's great to be back. It's just let me just tell you
Yeah.
that
Good
it's been
stress
a
reliever to
oh
disappear
just
from.
just yeah, you just
Yeah, it
disappear
is.
from like the reality for a little bit. It's a little escape. Everybody
Hmm.
needs a little escape, whether it's video games or reading a book or you know
Yeah.
like me and Tony, we paint. I mean I haven't painted in a while, but that's just kind of like a little side thing,
Yeah,
but.
I've seen your paintings in a minute. You
I've
was
been,
going crazy.
I haven't really, I don't know, I haven't really been in the paint headspace, I guess. I haven't really been feeling it, but I'll get
Yeah,
back
I'm
What
to
about
with you
you,
on that.
Tony?
I feel this. I feel the same way. Like I don't know, like it's not that my creativity's gone. It's just like I don't know, like the urge of like getting into the painting again is just
Yeah.
it's just not there right now. Maybe it's because I'm focusing on other things, but definitely I think it came out more in COVID because you're sitting at home and going, all right,
Yeah.
what do I do? And I was like, painting was definitely a good way to take my mind off of things.
Mhm.
And
Hmm.
like, I definitely want to get back into it. I'd probably like to actually, I was asking a bunch of my friends if they would be willing to do like a paint night, you know what I mean? Just come over, hang out, do some painting. It's
Yeah.
a cool thing to like just chill and, hang with some friends and, get some creativity down.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
actually nice little at home paint night. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just like, one of those things, but just like you, Case, I just haven't been motivated enough. Like I feel like my focus is now like more towards this because I love interviewing people and learning new things. That's
Mhm.
why I love that Case gets most of the guests because he actually gets the cool ones that I can question that I don't know much about, and I learned stuff from that, which is really cool.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because like I was telling him, I was like, I really love photography, but I would never go probably to the level that you're at. You know what I mean? I just like to know basics, like how to make a picture like look better, or like what to like I did photography a little bit in high school and I absolutely loved it, but I haven't really done anything since. But like I do have things in my mind that I'm like, I kind of want to try that again and everything. And that's one question I was going to ask you, like, what would be like a good beginner like maybe camera to start with?
Mm, well, I'm biased just because I've always, I used to work for PlayStation, so I got Sony because of a discount. That's kind of like how I got into camera stuff. And then even in my opinion now, well, when I first started, it was like Canon or Nikon, that was like always the two big ones. But now it's like either Sony or Canon. So I always recommend Sony, just not a paid ad or anything. Like, I would like to get paid for it one day,
Right,
and
One day,
hopefully
one
right.
get
day,
a
one
brand
day.
partnership, and have it really come full circle. I'm sure it
Yeah,
will.
one day.
But I always recommend Sony. And then the next question, and goes back to like once they realized I was into cameras and all that, they moved me from the PlayStation to the camera department because it just made sense.
Yeah.
Um, the next question is always like what your budget is, because like, that's the next thing, and it can change so much. But there's different ones, and then even on Canon, obviously each brand has like their equivalent to compete with each one. But there's a few. I think I actually just bought one. I was looking for it, and it was because I wanted something a little smaller. Like that's why I recommend like something you're gonna use a lot. Like you can always switch lenses when you're first starting, because like sometimes it becomes a chore to take that out the house. Like you need
Yeah.
a whole special bag just to carry that thing around, and then you need now once you get more into it, you realize like, oh, I need a flash. Now I gotta go buy a flash. Where some of the more cheaper, more I guess everyday cameras kind of come, compact with everything. So I recommend starting with some small, like especially if you're just like, oh, I want to take better pictures than what's capable on your phone.
Mm.
Hmm.
And just start small and compact, something you're gonna bring with you everywhere, and at least get you into that practice. And then when you realize, like, kind of like how I wish I got this advice, because when I first got a camera, they got you need to buy this lens and this lens. I ended up
Yep.
buying a lens that a year later I ended up selling because I never used it, or just what
Mm.
didn't have the right functionality for what I ended up shooting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So like I always ask, like, what are you into? But if you just don't know, just get some general, then you might realize you're into taking more landscape pictures because you're always going for walks or rolling around the city and stuff like that. Or me, I don't really take like product or everything. Obviously, you see is like a people. So
Mm.
I ended up getting lenses more geared towards, so
Yeah.
there's no
That
right
makes
or wrong.
sense.
It's just like what you're into, and then you figure out what you like. Because when people ask me to take pictures like on vacation, I'm like I'm good. Not no landscapes or anything. Yeah,
Yeah.
anything with people, I'm good.
So with the
Gotcha.
way the photography is now, sorry, Tone.
No, so good.
When like back in the day, like you always see like the with the red room with the dipping the photos in the light.
The dark
Do
room
you,
and all that.
yeah,
Yeah.
dark. Do people do that anymore, or is it more everything's on the computer, digital?
That's a good question. That was going to be one of my
Mhm.
questions.
Yep. Yeah. People. I think obviously, I guess like as obviously, I guess to the
Yeah.
photography hobbyists and things like that more. But like you always see like film is dead or film's back in style.
Mm.
Um, right now, for me, this past year, that was like one thing that I try to still use photography as my hobby, even though it still is my profession. So I try to find a good balance. And for me, it was buying a film camera because it allows me to slow down and like actually appreciate things a little more. And like, with digital, you have nowadays everything has like 1 terabyte cameras, and like everything you have just so much storage space. So like you're not as how many times you get asked to take a selfie or take a photo of someone, you take like 10 of the same photo. You can't
Yeah.
do
Hmm.
that with film because it just costs too much money, and it makes you just be more intentional with a shot. Like, I think max I'm taking is 1 or 2 shots like of the same thing, because the film camera is a little larger, and then there's 10 shots of film. It's like medium format.
Yeah.
So, and then I don't develop it because I forgot how to do that, like in the dark room and stuff. Actually, that's one thing I want to relearn again and get practice this year is like going into the. You can do it at home, like you can buy bars and stuff now and like the canister, and like you just gotta obviously have practice and like taking it out because you can't do it without, can't see it, so you just gotta practice doing it. And
Yeah.
the risk for me is like if I shoot some photos, it had to be some random. Like if I do mess up, I'm not mad,
Yeah.
like that I lost this role. I'm not gonna go shoot on the job and then try
Yeah.
to
We start
develop it
start small.
myself
We
or
start
something.
small.
Yeah,
Yeah. You
just like
start
pictures
small.
of my cat or
Yeah.
something.
Your Xbox in your apartment and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, just like all right, make sure it happened because, like I said, with film at least it is there is that cost because it's a physical thing, but
Mm.
it makes it more satisfying, especially if you are going through that process yourself. Right now, I'll shoot film and I'll send it out to get developed. They can scan it for you to make it digital, but I did buy a scanner, and so like I'll scan it, and I guess that's like the more hands-on approach for me.
Yeah.
But it all depends. Like, there's no right or wrong. But that dark room, there's definitely film. I think it's never going out of business.
That's
It has a
cool.
different type of aesthetic, and right
Yeah.
now
Yeah,
a
it
lot
is.
of people like it. Brooklyn alone is probably can keep it in
Yeah.
business. Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say all the hipsters out there. Brooklyn alone is definitely
Mhm.
gonna keep the film industry alive.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I worked with a lot of that when I was in school because that's why I'm glad you brought up that question because that's what I worked with. I worked with film, and when I did it, I had to do the dark room. I had to do the chain. You have to take out the film out of the canister, and I had to
Hmm.
do it in like they give you like a bag that you got to do with your hand and everything. And it's so funny because you can't look at it. You just got to make sure you do it. And if you give it exposure, you totally ruin your film. So that's why
Hmm.
I know a little bit about that. And that stuff, that's the kind of photography that I miss. Actually, I miss getting into that. So like you saying that you like slow it down, like it's true. Like everybody today will take like a million photos on their phone, but like if you actually slow it down and like put some thought into like the picture, I feel like like you give it more love and you show it like it comes out so much better. So that's the kind of like photography I kind of miss, and that's kind of something that I was trying to think about getting back into.
See,
So
knowing that convo, I would recommend a film camera to you more than
Yeah. Get a
a
film.
digital
Yeah. Get a.
camera.
Yeah. I agree.
mhm.
Because of that. Or just tell you to get like a super small mega. Well, then that's outdated. I wouldn't do that anymore. I was gonna say get like a smaller memory card or something, so with a
Mhm.
digital camera because yeah, it's just more. For me, it's like I guess that's like the film camera for me is my tool to like sharpen my brain in my practice, and then obviously my digital camera is like when I'm in work mode. I'm like, all right, I gotta go to this event and I gotta capture everything. Obviously, when I shoot, I think way more than I need to, but
Mm.
I try to think depending on who's me from their point of view. So, they're planning that this whole big event together. They want to see the details on each table,
Yeah.
like how many spoons and forks is on this
Mm.
one table, like
Yeah.
they really, because that's what they're paying and that's what they're getting hired for, especially the big
Mhm.
productions. Like they want to see, I try to go through whoever me their point of view and try to capture for them. Like, all right, they need all those little details. Maybe there's a certain branding on the wall that they need one photo of just so when they do their recap they have it. And then of course I do a lot of obviously like hip hop events or like just events with certain celebrities. That stuff is easy because once they come through the door, the focus always shifts on whoever the
Yeah.
celebrities are. But
Mhm.
it's those other little things that kind of matter too, especially if you're getting hired to cover an event. I'm taking a job next week for well, I hope I'm waiting to get the final email, but for like True Religions, and they're doing like next week's like fashion week
Oh.
and all that. So if they
Okay.
do hire me, I'll make sure I think of from their point of view and like,
Yeah.
let me, especially fashion stuff is all about details outside of the people and the models and all that, but it's all the production of like, they rent a huge venue out and
Yeah.
they make sure everything's laid out perfectly for whatever the activation is. So it's like factoring all those little details was a priority.
Makes sense. That's what's up, though, man. Hopefully you get the gig.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think we're like 99% there. Just gotta
Yeah.
check my emails later.
That's what's, man. That is awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds like a little bit of a difference doing like a product than like a person, you know what I mean? Because then you do got to do like focus more on like detail and things like that. But
Mhm.
like if you start throwing models in there, then you're kind of like, okay, what do I focus on, the detail of the clothing or the model? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So, but it just like you said, it depends on like who you're working for. So that makes plenty of sense.
yeah. Each different job has like they're all very, at least in my opinion, every job has very similar things, but then obviously you just tailor it for the details, each specific job, if that makes sense. Like if I'm doing an event,
Yeah.
it's always the same type of run of show, just slightly different. It's just obviously more geared toward whatever it is as an event or an event like it's an award show or like a concert. Obviously everything's from 6 to 10 or 7 to 10, and everything's just timed differently, but it's similar.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's
We've
awesome.
done it for so long.
Yeah. You're just so used to it.
Yeah,
Comes natural.
Yeah,
man.
for sure.
At this point, at
Ooh,
this point,
excuse
it
me.
goes. There's always wrenches that get thrown into the mix. So
Oh,
yeah.
of
Yeah,
course,
it's
of
life.
course.
That's
Hmm.
life, man. You never know. Anything could happen at any moment.
True that, man.
Hell yeah. I mean, obviously, speaking of any moment, Tony, me and you, obviously, anything could happen at any moment. You know what I mean?
No,
Things happen,
Yeah,
good, bad, and just in between.
all
All of it.
all day long. Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah,
exactly. But
Exactly. So we don't have to work at it though. It just
it
happens.
just
yeah,
happens, man.
yeah.
But
But it's all good, man.
yeah, I mean, Tone, you got any follow ups? I feel like I kind of hit everything that I wanted
I
to.
would just say if somebody wanted to like get into photography, just like how you did it back in the day, like what would you recommend? Like where would they start? Like what would you start with if you were just trying to be like an amateur photographer?
Always there's I guess two things that kind of go together. First would be just go out there and just shoot and find what you like. Like kind of what I mentioned before. Um, when I started, I feel like IG and all that wasn't the focus. So I feel like sometimes when people are like, oh, I want to get into photography, now it's more just to post better photos on Instagram and stuff like that. Where I feel like I got one, it was like we had sidekicks and things that didn't have the best camera. So it was like you
Yeah.
wanted a better camera, DSLR, just to get higher quality photos, or like even the old like Sony like cyber shots or like something a little better than the phones that we have now. It's a little different, I feel, because now it's not about just documenting the moments because we all can do that. Obviously, on our phones, it's more just you gotta have I guess the intention. But I guess if you want to get a camera to like make a career out of it, it's just really just practice and getting yourself, even if you are the most outgoing person and different things. I feel like I was very quiet. I was always like to myself in terms of my personality. Besides like playing basketball with my friends, but like with strangers, I was very like to myself and quiet. But it's like going up to a lot of random people and just trying to make them feel comfortable in a short amount of time, and then take photos. Like that would be my practice. Like just making strangers feel comfortable. Because like even you, Tony, we never met, but say you guys hire me to do your next, your like branding or something. I know Casey would be chill, but you might be a little off guard and whatever at first. I don't think that would be your personality, but like certain people are like when the camera is in front of certain people, sometimes they're like, oh, I look, they get very self conscious. So just try to make them feel comfortable. Even I do it sometimes. I'm holding the camera all the time. I only take like 4 or 5 photos. I'm like, I'm not changing my face, so one of those four are gonna be the same. But some people they're very. You learn that they're very self conscious about things that we don't see. It's what they see in themselves. Like people are like, oh,
Yeah.
my nose looks weird, or one side. Obviously, everyone's got a good side or bad side. So like that's all self-subjective and stuff like that. But making people feel comfortable and like it's always like things outside of the actual practice of photography. Like
Mhm.
you can study aperture and ISO and all that and learn all there is to handle in the camera, but especially
Mhm.
dealing with people, if you can't make people feel comfortable or like
Yeah.
if you need to direct but you don't know the proper ways of directing and like or being nice about telling someone turn your head a little this way or that, but while you're holding the camera and blocking your face, it's like
Yeah.
different things that you gotta learn that you can't do unless you practice it, and actually go out there and do it. So just shoot as much as you can.
It's it,
Awesome.
yeah. It's you never
Yeah.
you don't realize that you have to like also be a people person or like at least have some sort of like calming or like techniques to get
Yeah.
people to do what you need to do. I didn't even when you just said that right there, I didn't even think that you had to. I'm just thinking you're going shooting pictures, like not talking to
Hmm.
people. But no, you have to interact and
Mhm.
you have to have people. You have to make people like you. You have to be you have to make people feel comfortable, and that's kind of
Mhm.
kind of comes full circle to all like me and Tony. We try to make people feel comfortable when they come on the show, or even just like just in general. Like it's this life. You try to make people feel comfortable who are around you, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel photography for me at least. It's especially because I do random events. I get to I feel like I'm thrown into their world for X amount of hours at a time, you know.
Yeah,
So like
it's pretty
I've
neat.
done some things I never thought I'd be in. Like I'm photographing runners, like I kind of mentioned, you know, that do ultra marathons and stuff like that. I'm
Yeah.
not no business being around people that run more than X amount of miles, and
Yeah.
it's like to see how they practice or prepare and all that. And these are just everyday people that some people got treated like if they're LeBron when they walked into certain rooms.
Yeah.
And I got no idea who they are. You know, like everyone's doing something amazing in their own right in the right room, you know? So it's like I like
Yeah.
to just be a fly on the wall and just capture certain moments, yeah.
That's awesome, man. Well, Danny, appreciate you coming on the show. And before we, as always, Tony, we got to shout out our sponsors, Seven Bro Apparel. If you get your sporting needs, they do a lot of custom jerseys and stuff. It's really cool. And I just want to thank, obviously this is kind of more of a personal episode for me because you're my boy. And I just want to appreciate you coming on the show. And, it was nice catching up. Like, we haven't really been able to chat in a bit. So it was nice catching up. And now we had to get to document that stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Tony, thanks. It was good meeting you. Case, thanks always,
Nice meeting you too, my friend.
You know, anything for you for the most part, you know.
You cut it out, man. Cut it out, bro.
Ouch guy, you know.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
my
Appreciate you. Yeah.
Yeah, man. You start. That's what friends are for, man. It was nice seeing you, and we'll talk soon. Everybody, keep an eye out for the next episode. Sitting tall, baby.